Hello, everybody. Welcome to this new webinar about big data and big business. I'm here today to present this webinar with Mario Bojilov, Chief Data Strategist, Professor at University in Australia, multiple universities. So it's a big honor for us. Mario Bojilov is a Chief Data Strategist, as I said, of Meta Business System in Brisbane, Australia. And in his company, he's working as a business intelligence expert and social media analyst. Mario is also an author, trainer, and speaker and lecturer, holding various speaking engagements for Professional Auditing Association as well as University of Queensland. Mario holds Master in Engineering and Graduate Diploma of Applied Finance, and so he's very expert in big data in general. So please don't hesitate in asking any kind of question, because we would like to push this webinar as a sort of dialogue between you and Mario that is very happy to answer all our questions. As an introduction, I would like to speak with you very briefly about the Credential Council. The Credential Council is an independent and vendor neutral organization. We are a no-profit based on membership fees, and we include user organization, vendors, professional association, and international certification bodies. The CCC has developed a professional certification program for cloud on top of the Cloud Essential certification 5 years ago. Organizations then like Microsoft, IBM, HP, Dell, and more have participated in designing the development of the professional program. So far, we have more than 100 members all around the world, and we have thousands of certified across the globe, especially in the associate level, Cloud Essential and Virtualization Essential. But now the professional level is definitely picking up. And recently, we have introduced the Big Data Foundation certification, and that's why we are talking extensively with Mario about this, and we organized this webinar. So a little background of the CCC. Everything started when a very important bank institution needed to move a big chunk of employees into the cloud. So they had to teach them how to manage and how to handle all the new processes. So at that point, Cloud Essential has been developed, and yeah, with the help of a lot of organizations like IBM, HP, as I said before, VMware, Cisco. Then we combined the two, Cloud Essential and Virtualization Essential, and we created the Cloud Technology Associate certification. That is an associate level, and that's very successful. Then other companies, also very important, like Capgemini, Microsoft, Deloitte, and with many experts from very different part of their businesses, they joined the CCC, and then we decided to develop a full portfolio of professional level certification. What is very important and interesting of this certification is that they are role-based. So we have certification for administrator, for developer, for service manager, solution architects, and service manager. So briefly, we then had the honor to have other organizations on board like Citrix, and we decided to develop other courseware with the help of courseware partners like the executive at Credential and Big Data Foundation and the Cloud Business Associate. Now, the portfolio today is composed of two associate level certification, Big Data and Cloud Technology Associate, and the professional series that I mentioned before. The accreditation scheme that's very important for us is the way we control that everything is delivered with a high standard and quality. Works in a very simple and common way. So we have training partners all around the world, and that can be affiliate or official training partner, but it's almost the same. And then we have courseware providers that help the training partner to have the best courseware material. And then we have trainers. So that may be you, because a lot of you are trainers and consultants. So trainers that get accredited, they need to pass our exams with high grades, and they need to study properly our courseware, and of course, they have to demonstrate that they have extensive knowledge of the cloud competence. So now I think it's time to introduce Mario to the audience. And for today, the topic is big data is a big business. So we want to let the audience understand how to develop big data competence in order to increase their business, or because we have a lot of consultants and trainers, how to help other organizations to enlarge the business perspective using big data as a technology. Now I will try to give the control to Mario, that is in Australia. Okay, Mario, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much for the introduction, Tristano, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be part of this webinar. Today, as Tristano said, we're talking about big data and what the future lies in relation to big data and how we can get involved in big data. Some statistics, as you can see on the screen. Big data at the moment, according to various stats, we have about 80% of business data which is unstructured, and this is where probably one of the main challenges lies with big data. When you think about it, we have data sitting in enterprise systems, and we've been working with that data for years. Examples are like customer relationship management systems, supplier relationship management systems, enterprise resource planning, payroll systems, finance systems, and so on. And these are great. We have a lot of experience with them. We know how to extract information. Of course, the world is not perfect. There are challenges there. But overall, they are well managed and the level of maturity is very high. But when you think about it, some of the most insightful information sits outside these systems. This information sits in various types of emails, Word files, PDF files, Excel spreadsheets, and so on. So we have a lot of unstructured data that if we can tap into, that would be really great for the business. It will deliver much better outcomes for customers, for employees, and for other stakeholders. And this is where big data sits. We want to be able to access that data and actually analyze it. And I'll talk a little bit later about the specific experience that I've used, that I was involved and I've used big data. Now, the other thing is that companies are starting to come on board and companies are starting to invest in big data. Now, we are at the stage of the cycle where not just the technology leaders, but also the business leaders are becoming aware of the potential benefits of the big data. So actually, they are starting to allocate increasing budgets to big data. And this is a great thing because we want to get the business on board. Big data should not just stay as another siloed technology initiative somewhere in the organization. We need to get support from the top in order to actually start realizing the benefits. And various companies in various industries are, again, at a different level of maturity in relation to that, or at least, or maybe it's better to say, at a different level of acceptance and understanding. Some business leaders are really on board and they're happy to actually invest a little bit more in big data initiatives. Some business leaders are still a little bit skeptical. So that is slowly starting to change. Just as an example, I'm aware that in Australia, some of the retailers here have bought specific data analytics companies because they understand that actually enhanced data analytics, which includes big data and data mining, is actually key to their survival. Okay, as consumers, we're becoming more and more demanding, and in order to compete, various providers need to be able to satisfy our needs better and better. And that applies not just in B2C, business to consumer markets, but it also does apply into the business to business markets as well. So some of the big data goals that organizations are trying to solve using big data solutions are enhance customer experience, better processes. We want to streamline the processes. We want to remove the inefficient bits from our processes in order to reduce costs. More targeted marketing. Well, that was one of the early uses of big data, and it's becoming more and more prominent. Reduce costs. Now, when we start looking at reducing costs, we want to be able to actually better manage our employee workforce. We want to be able to better manage our supply chains, where the big cost reductions will come from. So these are areas where the growth of big data will continue, and also enhancing security.
Unmuted.
Especially in relation to security, because of the situation that we are finding ourselves in as a society and various organizations, we are more and more exposed. We are more and more connected. To start with, as a result, we are more and more exposed to various influences from outside the organization. Now, that definitely wasn't the case up until probably even 3 or 4 years ago. But now we can look at some high-profile cases where information has been hacked. Case in point is Ashley Madison last year. So we want to actually be able to manage the security within our organization much better. And big data will help with that. Admittedly, it's...
Mario, can you stop me 1 second? We got a question from the audience.
Sure. Yep.
Do you see a pattern, and like what kind of industries are more interested in the use of big data from your experience? Like some of the audience says that they have experience with the manufacturing industry, checking all the machinery using Internet of Things. Others, the municipalities are now using Internet of Things as well to understand the traffic and the patterns for the prediction of a lot of people gathering in one location. But what kind of industry you see that are the most impacted in big data business?
Well, it's difficult to say, but usually the ones that I have personally seen: retail, definitely, financial services as well, and yes, municipalities, local governments, as we call them in Australia, they are definitely there as well. Not all of them, I must say, but at least the bigger ones, because the issue with municipalities is that is funding. So depending on the size of the organization, some money can be allocated to initiatives like big data. One of the issues with big data is that these initiatives are perceived as riskier than others. So actually, the municipality or the organization in general needs to have the appetite to start with, but also the funds to be able to allocate. But yeah, definitely municipalities are there. I've seen that. I'm aware also of mining, because there's a lot of data which is sitting in mining, which actually that can be used in order to improve the operations. And when we talk about mining, especially in the current environment, where the commodity prices are coming down, efficiency and effectiveness are becoming more and more important. The issue, of course, is that when we have reduced income, it's difficult to apply to allocate the funds for big data, but some mining companies are starting to do that because they can see the longer-term benefits for that.
Thank you very much, Mario, for answering.
That's okay. Yep. So what exactly is big data? And there is a lot of confusion about big data. If people think, okay, big data, if we just look at the size of the data, which is the one which is the most intuitive, because we talk about big, so we just think, okay, if it's large, then it's something that would fall under the category. But it's not just the size, because, okay, if we can start talking about petabytes and exabytes, yep, that's cool, that's understandable. But the thing is that their volume, which is the size, is one thing, but certainly the variety is where also the big data lies. As I said previously, we have a lot of files which are sitting, excuse me, which are sitting in various types of systems. outside the normal, the standard ones like the enterprise, the well-defined enterprise systems which are based on relational-based database technology. We have data sitting in PDF files, in Word files. We have data coming from social media, again, in a number of formats. We have video, we have audio, we have graphical data, we have Facebook posts, we have Instagram, we have Twitter tweets, and so on and so on. So all of this data needs to be analyzed, and the issue here is that suddenly, up until a few years, we were dealing only with relational databases. So if someone knew how to use SQL and was an SQL expert, they were pretty much at the top. But now, suddenly, we need to apply different skill sets in order to be able to analyze that. And the last thing is velocity. When we start looking at how quickly the data is created and how quickly we need to analyze it, we can understand where the challenges lie. And think about when you use Google for search, for example. As soon as you start typing in something in the search box, Google will provide you with suggestions to complete your query. Now, those suggestions are based on millions of other queries that people have done over the world. They have been summarized, but also the thing is that they are provided to you within seconds of you starting to type. Now, normally, if you run on SQL, that will take minutes or sometimes hours. But here, within seconds of you starting to type something, you will be provided with suggestions to complete your query. And actually, based on my personal experience, the hit rate of the suggestions is quite high. Now, I cannot provide a number, but I know that it's well over 50% when I'll start typing something and actually Google will give me the correct auto-completion. Even some of these are based on my previous queries. So Google has identified what I have searched on previously, and they're actually providing an auto-completion feature because they know, yes, I looked yesterday for, let's say, Vivo Fit 3 fitness band. So now as soon as I start typing VIV, they'll provide me with that information. So this is the velocity. Really lots of data coming in, and it needs to be processed really quickly in order to have a value to the customer. Again, this is very different from what we were doing up until a few years ago. Back then, we were happy to wait maybe 10 minutes when we run an SQL statement in a database. Maybe if it was something a little bit more complex, we were happy to wait a few hours, or maybe let it run overnight and get the information in the morning. Again, that's not the case anymore. We need to act quickly on some of the information that we have. Now, big data and the cloud. Cloud has been growing and it's becoming more and more accepted. Again, that wasn't the case up until a few years ago. We need to keep in mind that when we talk about cloud, we are dealing not just with the technology aspect, but we are actually looking at a complete change of the business mindset. We need to be able to convince the business leaders to actually put the organizational data outside our immediate control. And this is not an easy task because in some cases we have to take into account legislation. Like, for example, in Australia, there are certain types of data that need to stay within the country. So now, when you go and use Amazon, unless, or Google, or any of the other cloud providers, usually they cannot guarantee you where the data is. They'll guarantee you the uptime, they'll guarantee you reliability, availability, and so on. But the location is not guaranteed because for them, actually, they have data centers around the world. So they will balance the load amongst the data centers depending on the situation. Maybe some data centers have a little bit more capacity that can be utilized as opposed to other data centers. But now, putting the data into the cloud creates new challenges. So that is becoming less and less of a problem. So organizations are becoming a little bit more comfortable doing that. And that's where now we can start looking at how big data and the cloud can work together. Because if we decide to run a small big data project, a pilot, so that we can start doing something, we can actually get an instance on Amazon or Microsoft Azure or on the Google infrastructure. put Hadoop or Mongo or any of the other big data solutions which are out there and actually start working with it. You don't need to go and deploy that within the organization, where the issue would be that we have to deal with an IT department which is already stretched because they need to keep the current infrastructure running. So actually getting a big data pilot off the ground might be a bit of a challenge. They're not going to say no. Obviously, they realize the importance of these initiatives, but they'll say, okay, yes, we're happy to accommodate your request, but that can happen based on our current work schedule after 3 months or after 6 months. But having the cloud offering those opportunities, we can go and get an instance on Amazon EC2 with Hadoop installed or MongoDB installed, and actually we can run the projects right away. And then as we become more mature in our approach, we can actually start using the inherent benefits of the cloud. We can scale up as we become more mature. And this is really important because we can start analyzing maybe 10 or 20 gigabytes of data. Nobody has started running before they started working. So before and somebody can run a half marathon of 21Ks, they should be able to run at least 100 meters. And this is the same with big data. Nobody can start analyzing petabytes right away. We need to get our head around the process, our heads around the tools which are there. So we'll start small. We can start small in the cloud, and then we can keep growing. So there is a really strong relationship between big data and the cloud, and I think that this will keep developing in the future as organizations mature and as both big data and the cloud environments mature as well. So I guess the next question is how to get into big data. Okay, sorry, I just need to go back. Yep. How to get into big data? What are the skills that would help us? Now, one obvious path now for people who have worked with relational databases and who are already comfortable crunching information out of databases, putting information into databases, who know how to import CSV files into a database and how to create a data model and process it. That's quite a natural progression. Mathematical skills are great because once we put the big data in, we need to be able to analyze it. So just database skills are not enough. So mathematical skills, if you work in, if you have those skills because of your educational background or because of having worked in the field, this is also a really good way to progress into big data. Statistics falls under the same banner. Most of the, well, not most, but quite a few of the big data solutions are based, big data and data mining that we'll be talking a little bit later, really go hand in hand, and data mining is based mostly on statistical and mathematical solutions. Now, if you have those skills, it's actually great because you can understand how to apply them and how to analyze big data. And of course, that's why I actually put this one in bold and in a different color, domain expertise. If you are a domain expert, actually, this is a really good way. And if you have, of course, if you have an interest in technology, I think this is a really great way to actually start with big data. Now, if you work in marketing, you are already using Excel, for example, extensively to help you analyze the data which is available in the organization and help you analyze how to run new marketing initiatives, how to get customer insights. You already have one of the most important skills, because the thing is that no matter what we do with big data, at the end of the day, we want to solve a business problem using big data. So if you're already using, if you already have advanced technological skills in solving business problems, it's great to actually go and start looking at big data, because big data, again,
unmuted,
to take a leap straight away, baby steps are okay, and there's a number of ways to start. which do not require a lot of investment in terms of funds. They certainly do require some investment in terms of time. But it's possible based on your current expertise. If you are a domain expert with strong technological skills, getting into big data would be actually quite easy.
Mario, we have a question.
Yes.
So Michael is asking what from the slide before, like skills, database, math, statistic, what kind of skills or competences are explained during the Big Data Foundation training? Like, basically, I think Michael wants to know if it's necessary to come already with these kind of skills on a high level, or some of them are explained during the course.
No, they are not explained during the course. You need to have some high level already. But with the Big Data Foundation course, the idea is to actually give you the basics of big data so that you can start working on your own. And I'll talk about the syllabus in a second. Actually, that's the next slide. So you don't need any of these skills, but they will certainly help because you'll be much more comfortable actually when starting to work. Now, even if you're a domain expert, let's say you work in finance, you work in the accounts, you work on the purchasing within the expenditure cycle, you work in the purchasing team, you can actually do the course. The only prerequisite, because you already have the domain expertise, the only prerequisite is that you need to have a very strong interest in technology. Basically, what is happening with big data is that, and that has been some research done over the last couple of years, a lot of big data initiatives do not come from the IT teams. They do come from the business areas, because people can see how big data, or they are willing at least to test how big data can help them achieve better outcomes. It is the same situation as many years ago when people started using access databases. All right, so there's a lot of people who work outside IT who are not database designers, they are not database developers, but they're starting using access. Okay, well, let me just put something together here in order to get information about a certain business problem or business question that I have. And as soon as they start doing that, then that access database will keep growing. Oh, okay, now I know how to run a query, how to create a query in Access to answer a business question. Okay, well, let me answer another business question. And suddenly, within a couple of years, you have an Access database which is huge. And actually, this is a little bit outside the big data course. I'm aware of an organization where, when they did an audit of their critical data sources, they found over 130, I think it was 134, 135 critical Microsoft Access databases. Now, this is an organization that is using enterprise resource planning systems like SAP. So, but before they implement SAP, they thought, okay, what do we need to do? What will go into our SAP installation? Okay, 135 critical Microsoft Access databases. These have been developed by the business users within the areas who couldn't get their information needs satisfied by the central IT function. And it is the same with big data. So people who have a strong interest in technology and the domain expertise, they can come into the Big Data Foundation because they'll get the basics and they can actually start playing with big data and start solving business problems, because they have probably one of the most important skills in the whole set. And that's, as I said, that's why I made it both, the domain expertise.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's okay. Okay, so the syllabus for Big Data Foundation, this is what the course contains. When I was designing the what I was trying to get the idea. Okay, this is a foundation course. It assumes almost no prior knowledge of big data, maybe just at least some level of awareness, but even that's not necessary. But really strong interest in technology, and at least medium level technology background. So the question we go in the course goes through what is big data, what are some of the success stories with big data, because it's important actually when we start looking at getting funding for big data whether it's funding in terms of hard dollars or whether it's funding in terms of time, okay, 1 day or 2 days a week, we can work on this big data pilot. We need to be able to convince people that there'll be a business outcome that will be delivered eventually. So we talk about what is big data, various types of big data. We also talk about the success stories with big data, so that actually there's something that people can go to, the decision makers with, and say, okay, well, this is what happened elsewhere. This is what some of the things that we can do here. Also, we look where the big data lives. What are some of the sources in big data? What are the structured, unstructured, and semi-structured sources? And how we can access them and actually put them with in our solutions. Then we are talking about data mining. These are just concepts and some of the tools. Data mining probably should go into the next level of a course, because this is where things start getting a little bit deeper. But at least we're laying the foundation. Okay, these are some of the tools and these are some of the approaches in data mining that we can use in relation to big data, and so participants in the course are aware how actually once the data is in, we need to be able to do something with the data. And this is where data mining and the further data analytics comes in. And then we also talk about a couple of technologies. They come from completely different vendors. The course is vendor neutral, but the idea was actually, and I have a really strong personal view in relation to that, that at any course, people need to be able to actually touch it. And we need, even at the foundation level course, we need to move out of the realm of theory and go into the realm of practice. Very simple exercises, but people, after they complete the course, people can see and say, I have used the big data solution, I have imported data, a data set into Hadoop, and I got some information out. I have imported a data set into MongoDB.
Unmuted.
I got some information out. The reason I chose Mongo and Hadoop when I was developing the content was that they were two of the more popular and more importantly, there's a lot of popular tools, but more importantly, these are two of the more mature tools. Because my perspective was the perspective of an enterprise. There's a lot of other tools which may be better. However, specifically these two are better suited to enterprises because they are mature, they have the support mechanisms around them, and this is what is important in an enterprise. So when we look at tools which are in version 0.12, for example, maybe they are not as yet ready for the enterprise. They will be in 12 months or 18 months, but right now, it's better to actually stick to tools that have been around, because when that big data pilot is successful, that tool will need to go under the stewardship of the IT function. And in that case, they will want to be able to deal with infrastructure and tools which are mature, because otherwise it will be difficult. IT cannot spend precious resources in order to support tools which do not have the required level of maturity. So that was the reason for choosing Hadoop and Mongo. And by any means, there's a lot of others out there. But also the other thing about these two was that they are actually available free for commercial use. So people actually can start the pilot without getting a big chunk of funding. And from here, it's possible to progress elsewhere. Mongo has got paid plans. Hadoop has got providers that like Hortonworks and Cloudera that actually offer solutions built on top of Hadoop. So, but the syllabus is designed to allow people to get an initial understanding of the big data and then move on from that. Now, this is definitely not a course, well, the foundation word in the name says it, but I just would like to reiterate. If you have had already experience with big data, if you've worked with big data in an organization and you have like 12 or 18 months experience, probably this is not the course for you. Okay? But if you're just looking at starting now, this is definitely where you can get some initial understanding. You can start getting your head around the whole area of big data, and then start moving from there elsewhere.
Mario, we have a question from the audience.
Yes. Yep.
Vibhuti is asking, is big data related to management information system in any way? Can someone working in MIS domain benefit from learning about big data skills and tools?
Related to management information systems?
Yeah.
Probably yes and no. The whole definition of management information systems is a bit broad. So it's difficult for me to answer the questions. The question was a resounding yes or no. My personal view is that yes, it is, because it can become one of the inputs into the MIS and one of the sources where you can actually get information which would feed into the output provided by the MIS. And I'll just give you an example. Personally, I think that one of the ways to approach big data is you start with a huge data set. After you've been through several iterations, eventually that data set will become something that will contain maybe 1,000 rows or maybe 10,000 rows, something like that. And this data set will be standardized, and actually the summary information can be entered into a just general normal Excel spreadsheet or relational database, and that can be used for that. When I did one of the exercises that I will mention shortly, but actually I can do it now, I did a big data exercise, and I looked at emails from an organization, and I looked at the metadata. I just looked at, I asked specifically, I do not want to see the content. I just want to see the sender, the receiver, the subject line, and the time. That's all. After I got the data set, I was looking for some patterns there in relation to fraud, and as part of an audit engagement. So what I did, I've analyzed the big data data set and using one of the solutions. And then after I brought, we were talking, I forgot, but it was data set over 3 years. It was in the millions of records. I don't know the exact figure. I don't have the exact figure in my head. But after I have analyzed the data set, I came down to some summary information. Okay, these are the employees and the external parties that communicated the most. These are the ones which are of interest. The rest of it is irrelevant. If somebody sends like 50 emails a month somewhere, okay, well, that's quite normal. Probably it's even low. So there was a threshold that above which I was looking. The whole data set of millions of records actually came down to about 10,000. After that, I actually put that into Excel and then finished the analytics there, and it helped me because I actually had to write a report for the client as a result of the consulting engagement and so on. So from that point, I just used Excel. Okay, I finished the analytics there. I wrote the reports. I exported all of the information into Word, wrote the report, and so on and so on. So the short answer is yes, these solutions eventually can become part of an MIS, and they are related.
Okay, thank you very much for the answer.
Thank you. Okay, so the big data professional. Now, oops, sorry, too quick. Yep. Okay, big data is in demand. You can see some of the screenshots from LinkedIn. It's one of the hottest skills.
Muted.
For 2015, and this will keep increasing. Organizations are looking for big data professionals. The need for data analytics will keep growing with, as I mentioned before, more and more organizations are coming on board with that. So we're looking at a continuing growth. Now, Hadoop is one of the big winners in terms of skills. Now, one of the issues, it's not an issue, but one of the characteristics of Hadoop is that actually it needs, usually Hadoop installations need a mixture of skill sets. We're not just looking at one person. There's several people that can be involved. It's difficult for business users to set up, Hadoop on their own and then start using it. Hadoop also, when you think, Hadoop also just provides the lowest level. So actually we need other pieces of infrastructure which are sitting on top of Hadoop that actually can make data analytics a little bit more efficient. With Hadoop, we have a framework which is called MapReduce, but the parallel to get an understanding of what MapReduce is, it's really powerful. There's no question about it. But the learning curve is pretty steep, and the development of the skill set as a result may take some time. So Hadoop, you can think of Hadoop and MapReduce as something like maybe a file system. And so Hadoop provides the file system and the way to manage that file system and to scale it, provide scalability and availability. But MapReduce is the equivalent of assembler. So if you know assembler, you can write really powerful programs that can do a lot of things with very high efficiency. However, not many people in the world these days know assembler. My background is electrical engineering. I used to write assembler code many years ago. I forgot all of that. Now I can pull data out using fourth generation languages or some of the Hadoop tools or SQL and so on. So MapReduce is one of those. So when we have Hadoop, when we install Hadoop and start using it, we then need to put another layer on top of Hadoop. There's a number of them. There's one called Hive, which is optimized for that. We can use Hive. We can use HBase, which we mentioned in the course briefly. We can use Pig, which is another one, but it needs another layer. So when we talk about Hadoop, actually environments, they require a number of skills. So it's not just a single skill. So that's why I'm guessing this is just speculation. This is why Hadoop skills are one of the most sought after, because Hadoop infrastructures are relatively complex. They are used by larger organizations. So as a result of that, you need teams of people who will be able to actually get the most business value out of the infrastructure. So now, the other thing is that only 8% of the organizations are leaders of analytics, and their teams possess technical and business skills. This is really important, because if we get people which cross both areas, as I said before, domain experts with strong interest in technology, that is great, because ultimately big data initiatives need to deliver business outcomes. And then, of course, technical people who have spent some time working in certain business domains, like let's say payroll, for example, or working on the revenue cycle. These are also really good big data candidates. So, but as you can see, only 8% of the organizations actually have those. So now we need to think, what are the options or what are the opportunities in relation to big data? And as you can see, with only 8% of organizations, there is a really big room to grow for the remaining of the organizations, and actually for people to start developing their big data skills. No matter what we think and talk about big data, the field as a whole is still in its infancy. So it's in its infancy because it hasn't been around for too long, but also because, as you see here, not many organizations or business leaders are starting
unmuted
as they should. And actually, that came also out of a report by McKinsey Global Institute. They had some really bullish predictions in a report which they issued in 2013, I think, was, or 2012. But then in 2015, they issued a sequel to that report, and they said, okay, some of our predictions did not come true. And they said one of the reasons for that is that the organizations are still not appreciating all of the power of big data and not investing enough. And I think that organizations will start investing more and more, and this is where the big data as a career will really take off. Right now, we're still at the very early stages of that. A lot of organizations.
From the
yes.
audience, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Patrick, that I believe is a trainer, is asking, yes, who starts big data initiative if outside the IT department? So it means, will we target sales marketing for this course, for the Big Data Foundation? Because traditionally they talk to HR or IT manager, and they would like to know who are the best people to talk to introduce this course.
Okay, well, it's difficult to give a clear answer, but one thing that I've noticed personally is that generally speaking, it seems to me that business leaders are more interested in growing the top line versus the middle line. Okay, so business leaders are more interested in growing the revenue as opposed to minimizing the expenses. So if you start with the departments within an organization which are focused on revenue growth, and okay, definitely marketing is one of those, I think that the rate of success will be higher as opposed to when you start with departments which are focused on making the middle line most efficient. This is HR/payroll or payroll or accounts payable. Now, with HR, that's a slightly different proposition because quite often HR and payroll are sitting together, but sometimes payroll is sitting under finance. Now, payroll is essentially an expense for the organization. I teach accounting information systems. I teach IS auditing as well at university, and when I look at the textbooks, okay, on the expenditure side of things, we have, in the expenditure cycle, we have payroll sits within the expenditure cycle. It's slightly different than your normal expenditure with vendors, but nevertheless, it's part of the expenditure. However, HR, when we talk about HR, when we talk about employee growth, when we talk about employee engagement or human capital management, as one of the terms is, I think big data is great because if we can actually make our workforce more efficient, that would be great. If we can make our workforce more engaged, that would be great. So I think that marketing or the top line initiative departments which are involved in the top line, like marketing, absolutely. Delivery of services as well. But also when we talk about HR, I think that definitely there is great opportunity for big data there. And on top of that, with HR, we are dealing with a lot of unstructured data. We're dealing with employee evaluations, which are sitting in Word files or PDF files, which are written as free text. So it's, okay, there's a score, I guess, at the end of each evaluation that you can pull out of a database. But the actual details how you get to that score, which are much more important, they are sitting in an unstructured information. So big data is a really good, actually, fit for them.
Okay. So thank you, Mario.
That's all. Okay.
Muted.
I guess this is one of the questions, just to get an idea. Think about it when you advance, when you start looking at advancing in big data. Where in these four areas your strengths would lie? Do we have a poll here, Tristano?
Unmuted.
Yes, I'm going to run now the poll. Just a second. So we will know from the audience. Okay, I'm launching the poll now. You should be able to see it. So please answer where would your strength in big data lie. data by skills, math skills, statistics skills, domain expertise. Where do you think you can get it the most? Okay. I see that half the audience has voted already. Please, just one click will help us a lot. Okay, I'm going to close the poll now. Okay, let me show the results. Okay, so Mario, can you see the results?
Yes, yes, I can see the results. I can see it's a really good mix of skills. But as I said, it looks like we have a lot of domain experts here, and then a lot of database skills as well in the audience. I think that this is really good. As I said, like to me, domain expertise is one of the most important ones. If you have the domain expertise, if you are a marketing expert, if you are an HR expert, you actually have the best chance to start with big data, because one of the things that we need to keep in mind, and this is what I always tell my students when we at university when we talk about these things, is when they ask me, okay, what do you want? How do I do this or how do I do that? Like I recently gave, because I teach accounting information systems, as I said, I recently gave we had an assignment with Excel, and they had to use certain Excel functions. They needed to choose 5 out of 10 that we've given them. Okay, so should I use this function or that function? My question always is, what are you going to do with your spreadsheet? What type of spreadsheet are you going to design for me? When you know that, then you can actually answer how you're going to do it. And this is here with the domain expertise. When you know what type of question you would like to answer, then you can think how. And big data, the Big Data Foundation is the course that will also give you the skills to think how, but you have the most important ingredient. So that's great. Also, for the people who have the database experience, you know how to crunch data. So actually, for you, working with data probably is quite natural, which does not come natural to other people. So again, a really good way to start with big data. And for the mathematicians and statisticians in the audience, you are ready for the next stage of the big data, where you can start analyzing what the data sets contain. So because you're at the advanced level of big data, you just need to get the basics right and then start moving within big data further. So here are some of the potential certifications for big data. As you can see, on the next 2 or 3 slides, we'll talk about what you can get. But the Big Data Foundation is vendor neutral. So actually, using the skills from here, you can progress with a number of vendors and actually start looking what are the data paths that you can take as a result of the course. Big Data Foundation will give you a good understanding, will give you the initial familiarity with big data, with the field, and then you can actually start moving forward. As you can see, this is what the certification paths for administrators are. This is what the certification paths for solution architects and developers are. Again, the Big Data Foundation feeds quite strongly into all of these, and here's another one for data analysts and data scientists. Now, I also would like to, because I'm mindful of the time, I also would like to talk about, okay, so here's the solution architects one, and here is the next one, which is for data scientists and analysts. But I also would like to now talk about what's in store potentially for big data. And what are some of the things that we need to be mindful of. Now, there is going to be a big growth in big data in relation to privacy. Not many big data privacy and also security. Not many people have realized, have started looking at these issues because we are still at the very early stages of the cycle. So we're actually trying to get information out of the big data, before we actually start thinking about the big data privacy and how to protect big data and how to govern big data. So, but these areas will keep growing because with big data, there are definitely a number of privacy issues. There is Internet of Things, which is coming in, which is part of the big data. This is part of the semi-structured data. With Internet of Things, we have a lot of devices sitting out there on the internet or in the world, collecting all types of information. And these devices, actually, some of them are protected, some of them are not protected, so they can start actually becoming privacy issues. And sometimes, without even realizing, organizations actually need to start thinking about privacy. Now, I do talk about privacy. I gave a talk last week for the Institute of Internal Auditors here in Australia in relation to big data and privacy challenges. Sometimes we don't even think that, okay, what's the relation between big data and privacy? And things can be quite innocent, but one of the things that can be analyzed using big data is information from intelligent power meters. So intelligent power meters generate a lot of information, and this is something, one of the things that I mentioned in the course. And with that information, we're trying to manage our power grid better, manage demand better, trying to provide a better service to consumers. That's one thing. However, companies that possess these data sets need to be mindful because these data sets actually can be used quite well for invasions of privacy. Now, if there is research coming out of Germany that based on your electricity consumption, it's possible to determine which channel on TV you're watching at this very moment, or if not very moment, but which channel on TV you have been watching for 3 hours the last week every day. And this is really important because intelligent power meters, we're trying to save the environment, we're trying to generate less greenhouse gases and so on and so on, and suddenly we can use exactly the same information to actually invite people's privacy. We can use it to determine when they are at home, and that information can be used by law enforcement or by debt collectors and other organizations. We can determine what they watch on TV most regularly. Again, this is information that can be used by marketers, can be sold on. So there are a lot of challenges. So we're only starting to scratch the surface now. Also, there'll be a shortage of skilled staff. Now, IDC is predicting that data scientists, yes, but also architects. How exactly we're going to organize all these data sets? There needs to be some sort of an overarching high-level perspective for that. And data management experts, now, this is what I was talking about. Okay, the data that we have needs to be managed in exactly the same way as the data is currently being managed in organizations where we have data classification schemes, we have certain processes and procedures that we use to manage our current data. All of these things need to come in relation to big data, but this is where some of the growth will definitely occur. Forrester is predicting that companies will attempt to get more value from their data. That is definitely a trend which is becoming more and more visible. And data mining will play a very big role of that. And artificial intelligence will have systems which will be able to learn, which will be able to derive insights based on their prior experiences, and I'm using experiences here in quotation marks, but they'll be able to learn based on their actions from before. Deep mind comes to mind, sorry about that, pun not intended, but Deep Mind managed to win the checkers game last month against the world champion. Now, what is interesting about that is that actually, as a game, checkers is much more complex than chess. We're talking orders of magnitude more complex. So we now have a system that has managed to beat a human. And the reason for that is I read some of the interviews and some of the analysis after that, but also the interview with the player. What happened is that Actually, the algorithm was really efficient, and this is why it beat the human, because as humans we are not consistent. Sometimes we feel better, sometimes we feel a little bit down, and that can happen within minutes, like within an hour we can experience a range of emotions which a system does not do. And DeepMind was analyzing a lot of games. It wasn't a brute force algorithm like the Big Blue did back 10 years ago when it beat Garry Kasparov on chess at the time. That was brute force. Here, actually, DeepMind was selecting the most efficient algorithm based on what it has learned. Again, it analyzed thousands of games, but then it was processing the data. So this is just an example of what data mining / artificial intelligence will be able to deliver. And this is where big data comes in, because actually to achieve that type of result, we need to actually process a lot of information that we can work with. So these are some of the final thoughts from me. And this is the end of our webinar. So if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them now, or feel free to contact Tristano and or myself. I think that my contact details are at the beginning, and we can continue the conversation.
Mario, thank you very much. I don't see any other question. Oh, wait, I got a question right now. So John is asking, what is the relationship between big data and business intelligence?
Well, I guess it's difficult to tell you the truth. It's difficult to answer this question. I work with business intelligence. Now, with business intelligence, we're looking. There is a relationship, but business intelligence so far has been focused mostly on the structured data. Business intelligence pulls a lot of information from usually the various types of enterprise systems, and allows the business user to explore that information. Not many business intelligence solutions are really good at processing the unstructured data, like data sitting in PDF files or in Word files. Some business intelligence solutions can hook into document management systems and can process the text, but not do the actual text mining. So there's a relationship, but it's relatively weak. In terms of business outcomes, I guess business intelligence solutions are really designed with the business user in mind, and they're really user-friendly. You don't really need, if the business intelligence solution has been implemented properly, you don't really need too much of a technical skill to actually perform the data exploration. This is certainly not the case with big data. That may be the case in a few years' time, but right now, the ease of use of business intelligence definitely beats big data. They both provide information and various types of insights, but I think that big data in general provides much more meaningful insights than simply because it's using a lot of information which is not part of the business intelligence solutions at this stage.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. We don't have any other question at this stage, so I think we are running out of time. We actually passed the hour. So you were very extensive and explaining very clearly. I want to thank you again, Mario, and I think we can close now this webinar. And for all our attendees, remember that we will send you the recording of this webinar during the next days. And we have more webinar coming, so let's get in touch.
Thank you.
Mario, thank you very much. I'm going to close the webinar now. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.